The auction house on Station Gamma 7 reeked of desperation and greed. Hundreds of species had gathered in the circular chamber, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony that would drive most humans mad. But Marcus Webb stood silent near the back, his weathered hands folded across his chest, watching the proceedings with patient eyes. He had come to the frontier station not for slaves, but for information about a missing colony ship. What he found instead would change everything. The auctioneer, a Velcrin with 4 arms and too many teeth, gestured toward the holding pens. One by one, various beings were paraded before the crowd. Workers, servants, laborers. Each found a buyer within minutes. The Galactic Council officially prohibited such markets, but the frontier was vast and enforcement was thin. Then she was brought out. The girl could not have been more than 20 cycles old by human standards, though her species was unfamiliar to Marcus. Her skin bore patterns that shifted like oil on water, iridescent blues and purples flowing across her arms and face. Her eyes were too large, too bright, burning with defiance that had not been broken, despite the energy restraints that bound her wrists and ankles. Silver hair fell past her shoulders in wild tangles. The crowd went silent. Even the auctioneer seemed uncertain. Lot 47, the Velcrin announced, his voice lacking its previous enthusiasm. Female of the Alvari species, age approximately 19 standard years. Recovered from the dead world of Alpha Prime after the extinction event. Marcus felt his chest tighten. He knew that name. The Alvari had been a peaceful people, renowned for their art and philosophy. 3 years ago, their homeworld had been sterilized by a rogue AI swarm. The Galactic Council had declared the entire species extinct. Apparently, they had been wrong about at least one survivor. Opening bid at 500 credits, the auctioneer said quickly. She is untrained, unbroken, and violent. 3 handlers have already been injured. Buyer assumes all risk. No hands rose. No bidding paddles lifted. The various species in attendance whispered among themselves, but none wanted the liability. An uncontrollable slave was worse than no slave at all. The girl's eyes swept across the crowd, her expression one of pure contempt. She understood exactly what was happening, even if she could not speak their languages. She would rather die than submit, and everyone in the room knew it. The auctioneer's voice took on an edge of irritation. Come now, she has value. The Alvari were known for their mental capabilities. Telepathy, empathy, advanced cognitive processing. Surely someone sees the potential? Still, the crowd remained motionless. Several attendees began filing toward the exits. A difficult slave would require expensive conditioning, and even then, there were no guarantees. The smart money was walking away. Marcus found his hand rising before his conscious mind had fully processed the decision. The auctioneer's eyes locked onto him with predatory interest. Ah, we have a bidder. The human in the back offers 500 credits. A Drulian merchant near the front turned to stare at Marcus, his insectoid features arranged in what might have been amusement or pity. You are aware of the risks, human. The Alvari girl has already sent 2 Kravish warriors to the medical bay. Marcus met the merchant's compound eyes without flinching. I am. 600, the Drulian said, raising his paddle with one chitinous claw. He was calling Marcus's bluff, testing whether the human would actually commit. 1,000, Marcus replied without hesitation. The crowd murmured. That was real money, enough to buy 3 trained servants or a small spacecraft. For an unbroken slave who might never be useful, it was absurd. The Drulian's antennae twitched in what Marcus recognized as their equivalent of a dismissive laugh. He lowered his paddle and turned away. The auctioneer waited, scanning the room for any other bids. Finding none, he brought down his hammer. Sold to the human for 1,000 credits. Buyer assumes all liability for injuries, damages, and disposal if necessary. Marcus pushed through the crowd toward the payment station, ignoring the stares and whispered comments. Several species gave him a wide berth, as if his poor judgment might be contagious. He transferred the credits from his dwindling savings, signed the liability waivers, and followed a guard toward the holding area. The girl was being restrained by 4 handlers wearing heavy armor when Marcus entered the transfer room. She fought against him with every ounce of strength she possessed, her shifting patterns flaring bright red and orange. One handler held a shock prod at the ready. "We can sedate her for transport," the lead guard offered. "Additional fee of 50 credits. "That will not be necessary," Marcus said quietly. The guard laughed. "Suit yourself, human. She is your problem now." They released her restraints and backed away quickly, leaving Marcus alone with her in the sealed room. The girl stumbled forward, caught herself, then immediately spun to face him. Her hands curled into claws. Her patterns burned with warning colors. Marcus did not move. He stood 3 meters away, hands visible and empty, his posture carefully neutral. "I am not going to hurt you," he said softly, knowing she likely could not understand his words, but hoping his tone might convey something. "I am going to get you out of here." She stared at him, confusion flickering across her features. This was not the behavior she expected. Where were the commands? The threats? The attempts to dominate? Marcus slowly moved his hand to his jacket pocket. She tensed, ready to attack. He drew out a small scanner and held it up so she could see it clearly. "I need to check something. Just your biometrics. It will not hurt." He tossed the scanner gently toward her. It landed on the floor between them. She looked at it, then back at him, suspicion written in every line of her body. "You can examine it first," Marcus said. "I will wait." Minutes passed. Finally, curiosity overcame caution. She picked up the scanner, turned it over in her hands, studied its simple interface. When she found nothing threatening about it, she looked back at him with a question in her eyes. Marcus pointed to himself, then made a scanning gesture. "May I?" She considered this, then gave a slight nod. Progress. He approached slowly, every movement telegraphed and deliberate. When he was close enough, he activated the scanner and passed it near her head and torso. The device hummed, collecting data. Her patterns shifted to yellow and green, still wary, but no longer immediately hostile. The scanner completed its analysis and displayed the results. Marcus felt his suspicions confirmed. She was not just elderly. She was young enough that her neural pathways were still adaptable, still capable of learning new languages and skills. More importantly, she showed no signs of the psychological conditioning that most slave markets used to ensure compliance. She was untouched, unbroken, exactly what he had hoped for. "I lost my daughter 5 years ago," Marcus said, more to himself than to her. Her colony ship vanished in the outer rim. "I have been searching ever since." He looked up and met the girl's eyes. "I cannot bring her back, but I can help you, if you will let me." Something in his voice, in his eyes, made her patterns shift to deep blue. Not trust, not yet, but perhaps the beginning of understanding that this strange human was different from the others. Marcus gestured toward the door. "My ship is docked in Bay 17. I have food, water, a private cabin with a lock on the inside. You can decide when you are ready to leave it. No commands. No restraints. You are not my property. You are a person, and you deserve to be treated as one." He turned his back on her, a gesture of vulnerability that no slave trader would ever make, and walked toward the exit. He could feel her eyes on him, could sense her weighing options she had not known existed. The door opened. Marcus stepped through. After a long moment, He heard footsteps following behind him. They walked through the station together, the human and the elderly girl, past crowds that parted and stared. She stayed 3 steps behind him, ready to run at the first sign of betrayal. But Marcus simply led her to his battered cargo ship, showed her the cabin he had prepared, and left her alone with a meal and a datapad loaded with language programs. Over the following weeks, as his ship traveled deeper into unexplored space, something remarkable happened. She began to learn. The datapad included Galactic Common, and her elderly mind absorbed it with frightening speed. Within a month, she could speak simple sentences. Within 2, she could hold conversations. Her name was Lyra, she told him one evening as they shared dinner in the galley. She was the daughter of Althor Prime's chief archivist. When the swarms came, her mother had hidden her in a stasis pod in the planetary archives, hoping someone would find her when the danger passed. She had woken alone on a dead world and survived for 3 months before the slavers found her. "Why did you buy me?" she asked, her patterns cycling through curious shades of teal. Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Because I saw someone who deserved better. Because I could not walk away." "And now?" "Now you decide what happens next," he said. "I will help you find other Alderi survivors, if any exist. Or help you build a new life somewhere safe. Or teach you to fly this ship, and you can go wherever you want. Your choice, Lyra. Always your choice." She looked at him with those 2 large eyes, and her patterns settled into a warm gold he had not seen before. "I choose to stay," she said. "For now. You need help searching for your D.